it's my belief that the major first iterations of the play to earn systems will actually be better realized in these mini games approaches, which is why we're going there. So the sort of metaverse dynamic will open up in this very sort of modular dynamic where segments of the world will open up in sequence. So it's not like we're going to disappear for 2 years and say we're going to build this giant world. Our vision is that it's going to be a metaverse that is built with the community. And
you guys vote.
Yeah, so the guys vote. Mark here has just said hello. Can build 3D worlds almost in real time and actually gets inside VR spaces and builds them live. So we want to, show the community like, hey, which direction do you want to go in this world? And the community will direct it, and we'll build it in the way that the users want it to be built and release it in segments. So that starts this quarter, and once we've cracked the workflow, we'll have new bits of metaverse opening in like monthly cycles. So that'll be super exciting. Regarding the other bit with the token economics, so the way to conceptualize the Coins of Destiny game in our Discord at the moment is like an experimental test space where we're trying out the token economics with ETH at the moment. So we don't have a token yet. And what we've essentially built is a kind of symbolic lottery, this kind of Coins of Destiny thing. And we need to see that play out with the symbols that are coming out as the Shibakus are minted. We don't know what they are either. So what the next Shibaku is going to be, we don't know. The metadata is buried in IPFS, which if you watch some of the mints last year, it turned out that some people who can read contracts and with the technical proficiency can unpick the metadata prior to minting and go and mint the rare ones. That's not possible using our minting suite. So we hide the metadata before the mint. So we don't even know what's coming out next. So the next one could be next Shibaku minted could be a gold Shibaku, and we don't know. So regarding the token economics, we're taking a look at what NFTs are out and what symbols are out, and does the game work with this batch of tokens? Does it work with the next batch of tokens? What's the rules of the game? So we're experimenting with that dynamic in our Discord before we migrate it to the metaverse. So it's a kind of experimental temporary solution. We can't give away ETH till the end of time, right? Because we don't have infinite money. So eventually there has to be an off-ramp to a sustainable token economy. And the way to look at that is that, again, we will set the framework for the token economics, but it's not us that's launching the token, it's the DAO. And the DAO itself will be responsible for the token economy. So we're actually going to start this process after our next minting window. Users will be able to design the token economics themselves, down to the name of the token supply. And as part of that, we'll be educating the community on what good token economics are. And yeah, at the moment, play to earn games, no one's cracked the token economics for these things yet. And we think we're onto an interesting dynamic with the way the tokens will be issued to the community. The way I've conceptualized it is the Shibakus are like Bitcoin miners. And this little probabilistic game that people are playing is very much like the way Bitcoin miners find Bitcoin blocks. And the game is like a mining sort of simulation almost. So we can't say this is going to, in terms of what's the value of that token, the way to look at it is it's an in-game currency. Whether it has value beyond the initial minting price of the Shibaku or anything like that is essentially up to the market. We don't know, and we can't say mint this and get free money and you're all going to be rich and you're going to get a house from this NFT, because we'll get in trouble and we can't do that. So the way to think about it is this is like an in-game currency that you would get inside a computer game conventionally, but it has a liquid market to it. Whether that goes up or down in value or what the initial value is and all that sort of stuff is due to the market conditions. But it will have a utility within the game, and it will allow you to shape your probability in the Coins of Destiny game, allow you enter into these trait battle type scenarios, allow you to interact with other Shibakus to play these mini games. But yeah, so the token will be, we haven't decided yet whether, it depends how the next iterations of the mints go. we might do one mint party and the whole thing goes, and then we'll do the token immediately after. My feeling is that we do the token after the mint has completed and the initial tranche of Shibakus are out. But really, it's going to be down to the DAO. We want to be fairly radical with this project and let the DAO make really core decisions about everything, including the token emission, including the whole token economics and everything. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, man, thank you. You see, the whole reason, let me just train a little bit quickly. The whole reason for asking about the tokenomics and stuff like that, because I love my Shibakus. I don't look at it as an NFT project, whereas you're hoping that the floor price goes up and you could flip it and sell it or whatever. I want to keep them. So I definitely want to be earning something within the metaverse. So thanks for that, by the way.
Yeah, no worries, man. And it is going to be a play to earn game. What we've got to be careful of is to say that there's like passive income with them. So if you hold this NFT and you just get a constant stream of free money, that appears to get you robbed from OpenSea, right? So OpenSea, it's happened on a couple of NFT series where they've basically said stake your NFTs, get some free money in perpetuity, which is terrible token economics anyway. You just can't give free money away forever. There has to be some skill-based dynamic to it. It has to have utility. It has to make sense within a metaverse game. So yeah, it's not like you're going to get instant free money with them, but there is going to be an opportunity to earn money with them in the same way that you can in the sort of Axie Infinity like ecosystem.
Cool, awesome. Thanks for that, Nick. And I'll pass over to Sherelle if you're ready to ask your question.
Yes. Okay. So I'm really new to the whole like crypto world, the metaverse, all of this stuff. Like, I'm like understanding what the terminology means. I'm really just looking at communities to get involved with, and to like have for like how to do that, how to decide like what the best place is for you, and to know what to do in crypto. If that makes sense.
I think you slightly broke up a little bit then, Sherelle, but was the question that what's the best source of information for navigating the space? Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah, what's the best source of information, but like also like what are some good communities like to be involved in? Like I know guys, and then what should I do, basically?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people looking for that kind of guidance, and we're trying to create that space in our finance.vote Discord. So we run sessions every week, which are designed to help people, both for our own project, but also designed to help people navigate the space and try and understand and make good decisions about what to do. And in fact, I'll be targeting to run a kind of course throughout the year. I would say if you spent a year in the finance.vote Discord, you'll come out of it very knowledgeable about crypto. And we've been talking about doing a week on essentially doing due diligence on crypto projects. And we might do that in the next week or two. So join our Discord if you haven't already, and keep an eye out for those kind of things. I was an educator for many years. And one of the things that the value I can bring to the space is do education, crypto education stuff to exactly that end, is to help people navigate the space and get the best value out of it. The reality of it is it's a risky space to navigate. It's very easy to get sold into FOMO, and that most projects don't last weeks. There's a lot of these things that are like very fly by night. They turn up, they disappear. They're anonymous projects. There's at one point last year, Binance Smart Chain had 4,000 rug pulls a day on it, to give you a kind of magnitude of how much crap there is out in the space. So you have to be very critical, and you have to be careful what you put your money in, and the whole space can change. Having gone through one of these, like two of these cycles in the past, it doesn't matter how good an individual project is. The whole space, the whole market can just shift out, and everything can drop to 8% down or 90% down. The bad projects will go 99.99% down and never come back. So you kind of make sure you don't overexpose any money, that you only put money in that you are able to lose, if you like. It's a speculative game at the moment. They aren't securities, which is the traditional securities make promises. And if anyone's making promises in crypto that things are guaranteed to go up in the future, it's probably a scam, and they're at least breaching securities laws. So just be mindful of the fact that there's a lot of sharks out there. There's a lot of people who are trying to scam people, and there is some good projects. And over time, you build up an instinct for what is risky, what's probably a rug pull, what's short-term speculative, and what you could feel safe leaving your money in for a period of time. Yeah, learn as much as you can. We try to create the environment for that to happen. So do join our Discord and get involved in that. And yeah, and just say join DAOs, join communities. Don't be afraid to ask what might be considered dumb questions. Yeah, just get involved in the community and ask around.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I think this is what I'm looking for. So thank you so much.
Yeah, great. No, I hope to see you on our Discord, and we'll be providing a lot of educational materials throughout the year to support people in navigating the space
I
safely.
wanted to add also to it quickly that I think a good way to learn is to actually, instead of going and buying some tokens, is trying to get into projects and earn some of these tokens. And of course, some of them would not maybe be great, and you end up like doing stuff for maybe shitcoin, some kind of ways to earn the tokens. And I think that's you can't tell whether some projects are legit and they're still not going to go anywhere because it's just the nature of this space. But in my experience, it was always better for me to like go and try to work with something rather than be just a consumer of tokens. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
Yeah, it's great advice. The best way to learn is to do and get involved. And yeah, you don't necessarily, there is, for example, you can come and get involved with us and earn tokens. And it's been one of the targets for us as a DAO is to build opportunities that allow people to build a position in our token through working without having to risk money they might not have. Yeah, get involved and enjoy it.
Yeah, I would second that in terms of the best way to learn about the space is to do that. I think obviously, like Nick said, there's no stupid questions. Like every single person here was new to crypto at one point. Certainly, I learned a hell of a lot, an insane amount of info in the last sort of year or so via finance.vote and hanging out with Nick and also seconding that idea of you can earn tokens in lots of different ways, and a great way to do it is to try and find the DAOs basically, or companies that are looking for expertise in different areas to help them build their project out. And just by being in that space and doing it, you learning about the market as a whole and the crypto space as a whole. Which, by the way, is almost impossible to be across everything because it moves at such an incredible pace, and never feel like I should know about that. And you don't, because there's always going to be a huge percentage of stuff that you just don't have time to learn about. But also, you're sort of exposing yourself to the space without having to put your own. Basically, you're being paid. You're basically exchanging your time for the tokens as opposed to your cash for the tokens. So I think that's a really sensible way.
Even though your time is usually more valuable than cash, but you still like with cash you just lose it. And even if you spend time working on a project that wasn't worth it, you still learn a lot, and then you, I don't know, figure out more about other projects and meet people as well. Sometimes you meet great people on shit projects. Like it happened to me in 2016 actually. Like this CEO just ran away with the money we raised. It was one of the first ICOs, and I was a community manager. But I met such cool crowd there in this. Back in the day, it was Slack. Yeah, so no regrets. Even though the dude ran away literally with all the millions that he raised. So that was something. I thought my rep gonna be also tarnished, but it wasn't. And I just met super cool people.
It's all about the friends you make along the way. Yeah, sorry, Matt, go ahead.
That's all right. Now, there's a question from Twitter, and this is to the 3D team for Shibaku. Question is about the prehistory of Shibaku tribe. How did you come up with all the trippy and dank stuff? Things like the fact that Shibakus have casings and the overall vibe. Tell us some stories about artistic inspiration.
Cool. That's a good question. So everyone, I've been doing these NFTs for a little bit now. I like avatar profile pictures, like we're doing keys. Sorry, Mr. Perv. So we decided to go with these USB key looking things, and this is more playing with the idea of utility within the NFT itself. Instead of just a face, you actually get some of the data on the attributes and the skills and the stats of each key then, and then the key then is the key to this gateway that you access, and then within the gateway then you get your avatar, and then you get revolve it from there. But the key
How is this guy doing this? Is that a different profile?
Different profile. I have
Oh
no
my
idea.
God, he's putting some effort in. What?
You're right.
What a strange individual. Is it the XRP guy again?
This is much better. This is just so odd.
Yes, yeah, it's at least putting some effort in. So go on, Mark.
Yeah, I think, what was the rest of the question? What the direction of the key?
Artistic inspiration, where did that come from? So you mentioned the USB as being utility.
Right, so the
Yeah.
utility, and then the head, then, like the idea of a Pez dispenser, and this idea of bringing a bit of character in there. Yeah, so when we chose the Shib dog, we played with just making it super iconic, and then it evolved. It's funny how it all evolves, you know, and then it evolved into taking the head now and making this little character. I don't know if you guys have seen the little avatar character. Which we could see, yeah. But that is the evolution of the avatar itself. Then is like the 3D character, that kind of, which has then the attributes that you find in the key. Then it's all evolving in an interesting way. Yeah. Is there any other question?
What got you onto the cartridge bit, Mark? So there's this idea of the key and the cartridge. How do you imagine these things existing in the metaverse? What do you conceptualize them as?
It's kind of how you've got a console, like an old video game console. The idea that these are like sub little virtual objects that we can just invent and come up with crazy non-physical attributes.
And for the keys, so we've been thinking actually before, just when
Mark,
NFTs were
we've got some feedback on your, or is that your?
So we've been thinking about this key concepts for a while. So at the moment, a big part of NFTs is their profile pictures, but we're seeing more evolution also towards like access control. And it's something I think me and Mark have been fascinated with for quite a while. So you can use NFTs to access specific experiences, unlock experiences. And so one of the first things we will also do in the DAO scene and this like preview experience, once we finished this avatar controller that you can, once you plug in your wallet and it has Shibaku inside of it, you can actually start to control the avatar and move it around. So this like whole key concept, and I think we'll also see a lot more of that in the future, like NFTs to access concerts, NFTs just as a way to access digital content, unlock digital content, and then basically be able to sell that access to other people.
Yeah, nice. I think that key concepts, like we call them like keys to the metaverse, and I think there's going to be just a huge wave of NFTs as access tokens is going to be huge, from physical world events through to accessing new content, through to being able to access music and all these different things. And I think this really sells that idea. And there's a wonderful little animation of a little Shibaku avatar plugging this in. And I think we're really going to sell with this and go with this idea that these are keys that open up a new digital world. And I think these things do that really nicely. That's great.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I think also I was going to say one thing I think about the design as a whole is way back in the summer now, I guess, seeing the first sort of Shibaku blueprint or design sort of land in that group. And I'm always amazed and just like incredibly impressed with how little difference there is between that initial concept that you guys put together and the actual finished Shibaku in terms of like how.
We've lost you there, Chris.
Well, we lost Chris. I wanted to say that I'm particularly fascinated with this casing. Because there is a casing, it makes virtual object inside the casing kind of feel more real. And what I think is cool about it, because I think tokens on the blockchain and NFTs in particular is like the closest to a real meat space object we can get on the internet. So I don't know, just wanted to comment on this casing that really blows my mind, because it just makes a virtual object real because it's in the case. I can't explain it, but just how it feels.
Nice. Is there any other questions in the crowd, or any? We can talk about anything.
Yeah, there's at the moment there isn't. I'm a little bit loath to let people up at the moment after the last 3, I don't know what you call them, spew attacks.
Yeah. Who's that random dude? I can see Brett's in the crowd there. We've been talking on Twitter. Brett, have you got any questions? Do you want to come up as a speaker if you've got any questions? Anyone else? I trust Brett. The random other guy that came on screaming was a bit weird.
I think it was puking, not screaming. We just have to have a plastic bag for these people.
I don't know what was
Is it?
worse, that guy or the XRP dude from drunk XRP dude from last week.
I think that was worse because drunk dude was like just annoying. That was just ear blow. He had headphones in.
Yeah,
Someone
and 2
screaming.
different accounts, man. He logged back out and came back in to mess with us. What a weirdo.
Maybe that was him.
I've just invited Brett up to stage if he wants to join us.
Might be just listening passively. Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, Mark? Is there anything else that you thought would be something that people might find as an interesting snippet for Shibaku?
I'm just really excited to start to build the world behind the gate. The little levels, like magical bridges that we get to run across and jump around, and little caves that we can play around in, and then a citadel where we can all meet and talk as a little wandering Shibakus. This stuff really excites me. And then we can trade and share. And
I think I'm really excited by the dynamic of a DAO informing the creation or shaping the creation of a digital world. I think that'll be really exciting. Brett, you're on the stage. Did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, how's it going? I have an interest. First of all, thank you for the shout out. I appreciate that. And secondly, actually something going on in a DAO I'm working with now. So I'm a writer and I'm part of the writer guild. And in the traditional media hierarchy, the editor is almost like a middle manager in a sense, and they have like control over the writer. And what I'm finding with this first article is that hierarchy is still very much present. And I was curious if you guys had any thoughts about that in terms of like how that labor force should look in a DAO.
So you're picking up on the traditional power dynamic within the DAO.
Yeah, and as someone who, so I go straight for CEOs. So I edit my own, like I don't, but I've done agency stuff to where I had to like battle with editors and stuff. And it becomes like a real passive aggressive, like you just don't need that bullshit personally. And like to be frank, and like a DAO. So what I did in the Discord right away is I actually just said like elephant in the room. This is what my experience is, like not like calling out names or anything, but like just saying, hey, I think we should like group noodle on this in our next town hall because it could be for sure an issue.
Yeah, so I think there's always power dynamics in organizations, even DAOs, and there's sometimes people talk about DAOs being flat structures, and they don't really exist. There's always a power asymmetry in any organization. It's either the people who set it up originally or people who've assumed some position of power because of their experience or just because they got there first or something. And the best way to get around this is to clearly articulate what those power structures are. So if there is an editorial dynamic, then just say this person has final say, and that's that. And if you're trying to do something else, then you have to get more democratic about it. And this is why we build voting technologies. The route out of sometimes these deadlocks of power is that you off-ramp it to a more democratic mode. And that's why we're very interested in voting tools. And you can end up in what's called the tyranny of structurelessness, which is, hey, there's no hierarchies here. We're all on the same level. And what happens is the person who takes the power becomes the power dynamic. And it's not articulated clearly, but it's there, and it can create problems. It sounds like there's probably just a bit missing process where it's like, all right, if there is, and it is difficult. These are classic coordination problems where people are trying to contribute to a collective enterprise. And ultimately, in order to get it over the line, there has to be someone that makes a final decision or something like that. So I think and most DAOs will have these growing pains where they're missing the kind of process or the clarity on how things happen. So it's probably I think you're doing the right thing, which is to get it on the table so you can engage with it. And you've got to remember, most people who are setting up DAOs probably have had extensive governance experience in the past, and everyone's learning together, and there's a certain amount of humility that has to come with it, and accept when things aren't going well. But you can always say put it to a vote if you're in a kind of deadlock scenario. But yeah, interesting. And writing DAOs is something that we were actually talking about this earlier today, where we're rebuilding our messaging and branding and all of our presentation, all of our documentation. We're doing a whole fresh run at it. And I want this to feel, and in reality, be a genuinely co-created thing. So last year, I wrote all the Medium articles, and then I ended up doing so much work elsewhere that we dried up on the writing because I didn't have any writing time. And now this time round, I want the articles that we publish to be from the DAO. And I think that's just, and the processes around collaborative writing are something that we'll need to develop and stuff. But I think co-creation is the gold standard of what you're looking for in DAOs.
Also,
Yeah,
you mentioned
I love
mini,
that.
like you mentioned a guild, and it reminds me maybe we're doing something similar with mini DAOs. It seems to be like a trend when you have some kind of a group within a DAO, like a bigger DAO, that takes on a certain almost like a responsibility of department, but not really. How does it? I guess it's just a question to you. How does it work, the guild structure?
Oh
Because
yeah,
we
for sure. So that's just like basically the term, and not so like it's the same thing as a quote unquote, I guess, sub DAO would be functionally, or a mini DAO, or like a DAO within a DAO. But yeah, so that's basically what that is. And to the point of co-creation, I love those points, because that's exactly what I propose, is like the writer and the editor both surrendering their ego in the process and be like, hey, I as the point writer don't, like, I may have came up with the idea and put like the meat to the party, but like the editors are free to just make conceptual edits without my approval. I don't need to approve anything. And like they're bringing the sides to the party, and it creates the whole meal. And obviously someone at that point, it can't be completely structureless, and that ultimately someone's like the funnel who's publishing. So that person would probably be a specific role. I don't know if I would call them a writer or editor, even though they're like combination of both, but more so just someone who's really good at putting that cohesively from as many different writer voices as there are, and then making it a cohesive kind of like a DAO voice, basically.
It's interesting you mentioned egos, because this mutual ego surrendering, it just dawned on me that because we like in our DAO we discuss a lot of this DAO leadership. What is a DAO leader? It's a bit of an oxymoron, and this kind of mutual ego surrendering, it's almost the key to having hierarchies, because then the hierarchies can be emergent and no one is bummed out about it, because it's okay, now I do this because it makes sense to take this leadership. But every time there's the ego game, that's where things starts falling apart, I think.
Yeah.
And I
I mean,
don't have a recipe for it, but yeah.
it's worth checking out some of the stuff that Trachyopteryx at Yearn is very into, this idea of the teal organization, which that likes to conceptualize itself as a post-ego organization, where there's the spirit of the whole organization is about self-criticality and trying to operate in this post-ego space, which I think it's just really difficult to operationalize. But I think it is very much on spirit with DAOs, that we have to let ourselves, we are autonomous agents in it, but ultimately the unit of what's happening is the DAO as a whole. So you do the best of what's good for the DAO, not necessarily just for you. And we have to be critical. If what you might find is that you get this post over the line or get this piece over the line, and then after the fact have a reflective moment on what should we have done better, and how can we improve it, and just have that. The sort of hook that I like to use is that the way that DAOs should operate their governance is test, iterate, ossify. So you just try anything, get it done. For me, there's about getting stuff done. Practice. Don't get lost in a kind of bike shedding hell where you're just arguing about, should we do it this way, should we do it that way? Because it's a great way to get nothing done. So just steam forward, and that's your testing phase. And then once you've done it, if it's suboptimal, fine. Everything's kind of messy anyway in DAOs. So iterate, try something else this time. Was that better? And you keep going through that loop until you say, actually, that last one, I wouldn't have changed anything. And that's where you ossify, which means freeze, stick. So yeah, just my sort of advice is keep moving forward and just blow through any blockers you've got. And if it's not ideal and it's not perfect, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Just keep the DAO moving forward at all times. So that was nice input, Brad. Thanks. I love the fact that there's writing DAOs cropping up. Was that via Mirror, or?
It's actually not a writing DAO specifically.
It's a writing
I don't want to
sub-component.
mention the DAO only because I just kind of talked about it
Yeah,
but founded by a lot of people who have a writing back. So it's very media content focused.
Yeah, nice. I think that we're going to see a whole wave of creative DAOs where people are like, so one of the things that eventually you will hopefully end up in this situation where there's many contributions, like more than you can possibly, there's like a finite number of outputs that you want, but you'll end up with 100. And that's where kind of content curation comes in. And that's where voting stuff comes in. So when we're very into quadratic voting, because instead of should we publish this, yes or no, we have which of these things should we publish, and you get a sorted list of preferences of it, and it's just you find a consensus on everyone's preferences in a sorted list, and I think that's a great route into curation. But I think creative DAOs are probably the thing that's going to really excite people this year, because they're DeFi DAOs, which is where we started mostly. There's like investment DAOs, venture DAOs. They can be heavily gated, and you need a lot of money in order to get into them and have any sort of meaningful component to it, contribution to it. And then DeFi DAOs were very much about technical goings on with token economics and monetary policy, and they were quite alienating for people who didn't really understand crypto. But creative spaces in DAOs is going to like really blow the lid off them, in my view, because anyone can come and get involved and do something creative and have a meaningful contribution to it, and it's far less technical and more accessible to a lot of people. Any other questions in the crowd?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a question real quickly. If I'll be bold enough to ask on behalf of the Shibaku server in the Discord, a lot of people are quite excited about the next mint. And I know we had a voting on approaching Gary V to be the celebrity on the next mint. Is there any updates as to the timeline? Is there a date that is fixed for the next mint? Is there any response back from the Gary V or his team or whatever? I guess a lot of us really are excited about minting Shibakus. So we really want to know what's going on with that.
Yeah, so it was an interesting one. So for those of you in the crowd who might not know what's going on, our NFT DAO, as soon as our NFTs are minted, they become voting IDs. And there's always this kind of conversation about what influencers are you going to get involved, who's going to get to support the project, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the votes that we put out was, you tell us who, I don't know, that we ended up with a list of influencers that people think we should approach. I don't know who half of these people are. I know Gary V. Everyone knows Gary V. But there's a whole bunch of people who influencers in the space that I don't really know who they are. But what we've got is a sorted list of people who our community wants us to approach in the project. Of course, Gary V was at the top by quite a landslide victory. Now it's like saying, let's get in touch with the Queen. At the moment, I think every NFT project wants to get in touch with him. However, we think we can put an interesting offer to him. I think this is probably the first time that an NFT DAO has voted someone like him to be their representative or the people who they want involved in it. So that's a bit of an angle. But even getting content to these people can be very challenging. And then the next stage of the deliberation is, okay, getting to them in the first place is difficult, and then landing whatever kind of deal that they want is the kind of next iteration. And we actually have a kind of tangential link to Gary via some of our other partners. And we saw that take months actually we've known other projects that we're linked with who ended up doing something with VFriends, and we watched them go through that process for about 3 months before it landed. But what we're going to do is the sort of DAO has spoken, if you like, and we're going to put a offer of these mint parties together where they get to give out white lists for that mint party to their communities, and they themselves can have exposure to the project and all that sort of stuff. And we're just in the process of putting that like offer together, if you like. So we just landed on this concept of mint party a couple of weeks ago. So we're approaching, or it's a kind of, how do you do it? How do you even get to people like Gary V? Some people do it, evidently, but it's a little bit of a challenging process. So our idea is that we're going to have almost like a golden ticket. Like you here's your golden ticket. This is what it gives you. And it gives you X amount of whitelist spots that you can give to your community, and this is the offer. And we've got that offer now, and we've got what we're going to ask, and that's the way we're going out to it. So we'll give you an update on that. I think we're going to approach several of those people that the community voted for at once, and then see who bites. Generally, this game, I think one of the things I find most challenging about the NFT space and crypto generally, actually, is the kind of influencer dynamic. There's a handful of it's what you'll find is influence is a bit like wealth distribution, where you can take 1,000 influencers and 1% of them or 0.01% of them are the people that can actually influence lots of people. Like there's undoubtedly Gary Vee is an influencer. He shapes that, like he literally shapes thousands and thousands of people's minds. And then there's a lot of people who claim to be influencers but aren't really. And then there's a bunch of influencers who will try and we got offered 10F for a tweet, and which is just insane. So I find the whole space challenging, and I think part of what I think the dynamic should shift to is that it's communities talking to influencers rather than just projects, and I think that's what we're trying to do here. So yeah, we'll show you the kind of offer, if you like, if that'll come out through the Discord and we can get involved in that. And I think the chances of these people biting on the project is if they see that there's people like yourself who genuinely like this project and have experienced that they're into it. That's what these people want to see. This is not just some cash grab. This is an existing community that want more exposure. So yeah, more updates on that coming soon. And there's absolutely no promise we can get Gary Vee, but we're going to try.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I'm reading the caption on this discussion and I realize that it says DAO with strangers. Quite frankly, I'm fascinated with the DAO concept. So my next question, like surrounding the DAO, let's say you approach Gary Vee and he declines the offer. How does the DAO works now? Let's say that we voted for Gary Vee and Gary Vee declines the offer. Do we go back to a vote, or do we just move down the chain of who came second on the vote or third or whatever?
Yeah, we've got a sorted list, so there's no reason why we can't go through those, but there's no reason why we can't vote again if that's what people want to do. So a combination of both, I think. There's eventually we're gonna find some people who like the project as much as we do and will help us support it. So yeah, we are actively going to approach several of those people, and I think it's an interesting dynamic. Normally, as part of the FET project, I had people shouting at me, literally screaming at me for months. Go and get Elio trades, or go and get either on tech or whatever. And yeah, it's not that easy. And I think it's going to be interesting how the dynamic shifts, whereas actually we take a mutual responsibility to do this. Instead of there being a centralized team that does all the work on behalf of the community do the work. And I think that's the dynamic we're moving into. And it's genuinely, we are incredibly open to ideas on approaches for building our community. It is a tribe. So the community decide who gets in the tribe, and that includes influencers and so on, because they're going to get some of the tokens as well. So yeah, we're in it together, if you like, and we'll figure it out together.
All right, mate. Thanks for that, huh?
No worries, man.
I think there's a question from Kitbash now. If you're ready.
Yeah, hi everybody. It links in with some of the conversation we've been having and the previous one about the keys, the cartridge concept. I guess we have the Shibaku tribe, and wondering how are we going to integrate somehow the coins of destiny and other aspects of the project for new tribes, and that may be some value add to offering potential influencer tribes, giving them more value to become interested to get involved.
Interesting question. As many of you, the concept is that, Tribes DAO is a meta DAO. So a meta DAO is explicitly built to have mini DAOs within it, of which Shibaku is going to be one. We're actively talking to a couple of other projects or a couple of other chains, really. The idea of who are the other tribes, that's going to be something that everyone has a voice in and gets involved with. It would be lovely, I think, if there's a huge amount of compatibility across those tribes, including the sort of symbolic stuff that we've got there, that there's an aesthetic similarity, that there's compatibility with the metaverse and all that sort of stuff. And it depends. are probably going to shift from the dynamic where sort of we decide. So in the case of Shibaku, we've sort of like, let's give the kind of Dogecoiner tribe a voice. I think the next one or two will probably seek community support from that whoever that tribe is before we go with it, which means they're going to have a significant voice in what that looks like. So they're going to be involved in the design a little bit more, and they're going to want to have some input on whether the symbols are used and so on. But I'd certainly love to see a huge amount of cross-tribe compatibility in that stuff as well. I think it'd be a great means to which to tribes if there's commonalities between the NFTs. But the answer is we don't completely know yet, but we will have movement on that very soon, actually, I think. So I'm hoping for us to start thinking about the next tribes, in the next few weeks, actually.
Yeah, one of the things I'm visualizing, I'm not sure if that's where the concept was originally thought of, but let's say what some of the other projects I'm involved with, CryptoBats is one of them. One of the things that they're doing is they've been creating alliances with other groups where the CryptoBats bite some other creature and the creature gets infected by some of the traits in the CryptoBats and vice versa. But that's the way I guess some alliances are occurring. But in our case, somebody that joins the Shibaku world could get the cartridge portion, let's say, added to their key. So they get a key that has the coins of destiny now. So they got access to the metaverse and they get access to the coin of destiny game. And now instead of a dog face, they have a crypto bat face or a crypto shuttle base or a monkey face. Or
Yeah, that's
is
kind
there
of
any,
where we're going.
has that been the way it's been thought of, or maybe I'm just
Yeah,
adding...
I've been playing with some heads. I've been playing with some monkey heads, just trying to see how it fits stylistically. And I got a Pepe head, and I'm about to do a little badger, I think I'm gonna play with next. These little meme heads seem to fit really nicely within the avatar skeleton system and the gameplay. But yeah, I think you see the same thing. It's really cool. Animal heads.
Great. That may be a way to approach some of the future tribes.
Cool. Thanks for your question, man. And I actually have a question for the 3D team as well. When you were talking about the creation of your 3D worlds, did I understand it correctly? You use 3D goggles to get into the 3D world. So I'm imagining Minecraft style creation of the 3D world. Or I got that completely the wrong way around?
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. The idea that you could have real-time editing and multiplayer. It's a very interesting idea. But so far, I do it manually. First of all, I come up with a concept, and then I do a white boxing, which is generalizing the space, throwing some objects and walls and stuff up. And then I'll take that scene, which is very low polygon. I'll take that into VR, into Gravity Sketch, and then I get to draw over it all. And here I can really just fill volumes and paint grass and make big mountains and zoom out, and become really big and do stuff, and zoom in and do stuff. And then I export that out then into my other software where I optimize it. And then I bring it to Blender where I unwrap the UVs and then I hand paint it all then. And then it's very fast running, runs super smooth. And it's quite a fast workflow, like a week or two to have a really immersive environment. But yeah, using VR. It speeds up the process immensely. Like, yeah. Wish I could show you guys.
That's incredible. So it takes a couple of weeks to create an immersive environment, but then it takes what, a couple of months to really get the detail?
There's just these artistic workflows that I found over the years. Like for instance, I found this one tool where in a Cinema 4D where instead of looking at the meshes of everything as a skin, it looks at the volume within the object. And this way I can like it's really hard to explain in words, but it's a very different approach to modeling. You can just immense landscapes and then just optimize the topology and like it's something that would normally take me like 6 months, take me like 2 or 3 weeks.
And thanks for explaining that. We've been going for about an hour and a half now, so we can probably bring the Twitter Spaces to a close unless there's any further questions or comments from you guys or you, Nick.
No, I think this is a good time to naturally wrap things up, and I'm super excited about the workflow Mark and Sebastian and Zach have been building, getting that out to more people so people can see we see a sort of raw stream of their output, and it's genuinely exciting to see. And I think once we crack it, we'll be able to link the DAO into that creative workflow and open it up, and people can see the magic happen, if you like. And I think we should do that soon. But yeah, I think it's a nice place to leave it.
Cool. And thanks to everyone for joining us today in this session and asking questions and stuff. We'll be back same time next week. And we look forward to seeing you guys there. And hopefully, if you haven't joined our DAO yet, have a look at the Twitter handle for finance.vote. You'll find a link to our Discord there. And for Shibaku, you can go to @Shibaku Tribes, and they've also got their own Discord server as well. So feel free to join both communities, see what we're about, see how DAOs work in action, get a feel for what quadratic voting is and governance and all the things you didn't realize were so important, but you're going to get really excited about once you do understand. So we look forward to seeing you more in Discord. So thanks, everyone. See you later.